Good morning. It's Pop, Dennis Murray. Um, Today is Popcast 17, and the title is Finding Your Own Wisdom. Yesterday we spoke about um, essentially the terms, my position about what I'm doing and how I would like you to receive it. Um, I am offering what I hope is wisdom, and I don't ask you to accept it on my authority. There's no expertise possible in wisdom. Nobody can be an expert in that matter. And as a result, what I'm asking you to do, I think, is the only thing you can do. Look to your own intuitions, look to your own experience, and process those two things together. You'll be using some logical, processes, and you'll use some personal preferences. Regardless, today I want to talk about an unstated difficulty in what people are searching for, and rules, their unstated rules in what they say and what they're searching for, because it affects your philosophy, your wisdom. When you're looking for your wisdom, you can't use the scientific method. Science doesn't reach to wisdom. Science is a wonderful, wonderful skill that's been developed that allows us to um, react, to relate to the world around us in a way that is incredibly useful. And we're very grateful for science, the scientific method. Um, and, it largely derives from uh, an incredible intellectual ability coupled with rigorous discipline and rules, practices, and procedures. But it doesn't extend to wisdom because science only deals with things that can be proven, that can be replicated and get the same results each time. At which point science says, well, as far as we understand the universe, if you do this, you can expect that. Now, every now and again, something startling happens and they have to rewrite the rules. But the method is always what can be proven, what can be predicted, what can be replicated. There's nothing like that in wisdom. There's no way to prove that something is wise. You uh, spend your time, your effort, your heart um, looking into your own intuitions of awe and your intuitions about how the world seems to work. Look at experience and process, and then reach your own conclusions about wisdom. But you can never prove that what you think is wise is in fact wise. It's completely outside of science. And the reason this matters is because when you do what I suggested yesterday, when you look at the things I'm offering that I hope are wisdom and see if you think they're wisdom, you want to be sure that you don't use or try to use the scientific method. For example, science wouldn't allow the claim that we have an intuition of awe at the heart of our psychology because it can't be proven. Um, and so, right there, all wisdom arises from your feeling this intuition and feeling connected to it in you and finding in the experience of this intuition of awe a connection to others. There's, I don't believe, any other bases to wisdom. Um, and science simply can't validate the starting point. You have to decide to live by what you think is wisdom, with the courage of doing so while admitting that you could be wrong and you can't prove or disprove what you think is wisdom. And now, when you start further down the road, when you carry your starting point of your intuition of awe and a feeling of connectedness to others, and then you think, well, actually, I need to shoot a lot of people because I don't really want to connect to them and they're in the way, or they have some resources that I want. So the simplest solution is to shoot them, or to drive them away. So at that point, perhaps you might be able to use the scientific method, to the extent that it's a logical method, at least, and say, well, I can't prove that that's unwise to shoot people that are in my way or that I don't like. But probably it doesn't logically follow from my belief in the premise that there's a, my trust in my intuition that there's awe in us and some kind of creative goodness in the world that put that awe in us. And that it's wise to live by it. So when we get to details about how to live by your intuitions of awe, how to extend your wisdom into practical applications, yeah, then you can use logic and say, oh, well, that doesn't really follow. Shooting people is a way of relating to them, but probably not logically following from the connectedness I feel towards them from the intuition of awe. So this is a very important point for me because I struggled with it for much of my life. I assumed that you should only trust things you could prove. And I found it to be a fool's way of proceeding. I'm sorry. I am, of course, we're all sometimes foolish, and I'm the first one to admit that um, many, many times in many ways I've acted foolishly, um, and believe things that turned out to be foolish. But um, I think that you're not going to be able to go through the process of figuring out your own wisdom, figuring out which of the things that I'm suggesting to you are wise, or that you agree are wise, if you inadvertently use the scientific method and choose only to trust and to live by things you can prove. Science is for rockets, and um, wisdom is for living by. And we use science to help us live, but we live by our intuitions, and they can't be proven and aren't subject to the scientific method. Um, so enough for today. Okay, take care. See you tomorrow.